Well, good morning and welcome to video number 4 in the Experiences series. It sounds almost professional when I say it like that. I kind of make myself laugh when I call it a thing, trying to give something a name and something a reference in time and space. It just tickles my funny bone. But that being what it is, we use the symbols and we use the bits and pieces of the experience we have here in order to present a new message. So, as an alternative from pain, suffering, and death. So, this video, the 4th one, and I'm not sure if I've skipped anything here, but this definitely follows on from the 3rd one. And if you watched number 3 about being magnetized to the ground, this one follows from that, and you'll be able to get a bit of a picture of what was going on in my life at that time, and perhaps you can relate to it, and this video might be helpful to you. But basically, after buying that house and having that experience, which only lasted a few seconds, I did my utmost to give up alcohol, which was my worst addiction, I think. And I grew a little bit of cannabis down by the creek, and I was just smoking that. And then I got a dog and met my neighbours, and there was 80 acres behind me. And I used to help my neighbours out there and with their cattle. I had a few head of cattle, and I'd worked sheep and cattle before. So I used to go and help them out and have a beer with Angus there, who was actually Deputy Commissioner of Police. It was an interesting friendship we had. In New South Wales, Angus MacDonald and his wife Lenine Ford, who was the Governor of Queensland, and just a little interesting aside, I suppose. And then me, who was a completely lost soul, going in circles, didn't know what he was doing. But anyway, I lived in that house probably for about a year or more, trying to figure it all out. Probably closer to 2 years, I'd say. And down the road from me, there was Australia's largest Hare Krishna community, which they have free lunch on a Sunday. So I would often go down there on a Sunday for the free lunch. And I would attend the dancing and the celebration and everything, where they would play the drums and the girls in their pretty dresses be dancing and everything. And it was just really a very astral and very kind of nice, and sort of had this loving feeling about it experience. But when it came to the reading and the teachings and everything, I didn't really relate that much. It took me a long time for any of that to get in, which is why I'm so grateful for the workbook of A Course in Miracles. I'm being eaten alive by mosquitoes here as a body. But anyway, so my friend Gary and Melinda, who lived next door to me, I'd once told them, they good friends of mine, I once told them about the magnetising to the ground experience and how I had to go to Mount Warning. And one day Gary said to me, "Have you ever been up there? Did you ever get around to doing that?" And I said, "No, I never have." And he said, "Well, I can drop you at the car park at the base of Mount Wollumbin, or Mount Warning. Mount Wollumbin's the Aboriginal name." And I said, "That'd be great." So I think it was that weekend we did it, and he dropped me up there. I took just a bag. I had a buckskin jacket with all the fringes and a t-shirt underneath, and I was wearing jeans, I think, and probably would have been barefoot or sandals or something like that. But anyway, I definitely was not prepared for a night on the mountain, which I realised when I got to the top. And one of the things that was said to me, if you go on a full moon, there's often people up there having full moon gatherings and whatever. And I thought, well, I don't know why I'm going up there. So I was hopeful to meet other people up there for the night. But regardless, I was doing it anyway. And so prior to going up there that night, and I'll get to it, but prior to going up there, in that house, I hung a marker pen, like a big oil pen, that you can write on anything with, in my toilet, and a little thing on the back of the door saying, please write inspirational things here, quote, spiritual, anything, note, but please don't write anything stupid or anything vulgar or anything, And within a couple of months, with all the people coming and going and full moon gatherings at my house and parties and stuff like that, I didn't do a very good job of giving up alcohol. But within a few months that was full, and I used to sit there on the toilet and I'd read all of these many, many things, Be Here Now and One Life, One Chance, and all these things I couldn't even remember now, but just spiritual sort of sayings and, But it had prompted me, all of that had prompted me, and I'd read a lot of spiritual books in the meantime. In the past 10 years of my life, I'd read all of the fictional spiritual books you could get your hands on, and I think I had The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, the original edition at that time. Oh, got me. And I'd torn out of my Bible, the Good News Bible, which I'd had all those years, I'd torn out of my Bible the Sermon on the Mount, and I threw the rest away because I just couldn't reconcile it with what was going on in my head and my life. But the Sermon on the Mount seemed to offer me something incredibly useful, and if I could just love my enemy, which I didn't have any enemies, but if I could just love my enemy and do good for those who hate me, and apply all of those sorts of principles in my life somehow, I thought I'd be okay. I was really, really depressed and suicidal in and out of that sort of frame of mind through that time there in that house. And I don't know how my poor parents dealt with me. I was completely lost, like completely. But anyway, and I want to do number 5 in this series is going to be the white Mercedes-Benz story, which is an incredible story of faith when I was practicing faith. And I was practicing faith a lot in those days. Sorry, these mosquitoes are really all over my back probably. But anyway, on the on the night in question, Gary dropped me at the car park at about probably 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And I knew it was about a 2.5 hour climb from the car park up the mountain. And as I got to the top of the mountain, like there's about 400 metres of chain, which the National Parks Department's put there, embedded into the rock, and you basically it's very steep like this, You have to sort of hand over hand the chain and get to the top. And at the top there is a lookout that's been constructed, one on the north, south, east and west facing edges of the top of the mountain there, which isn't very big. It's only probably, the whole top of that mountain is probably 50 square metres. And there's some little shrubby bushes and things, and there's definitely no trees for cover or anything. And the platforms that they put north, south, east and west, they're open mesh, so there's no shelter beneath them or anything like that. There's no shelter. Anyway, I got up there and it was starting to rain, drizzling, and it wasn't long before my buckskin was completely sodden, wet, and I took it off, and mosquitoes and March flies. We're having the plagues now. Oh, this guy's going to be... Where's my thong? Anyway, I'll try and get through this. If I hit the roof, you'll know he got me. I got to the top, started to rain, and I put my buckskin jacket over one of the platforms and made a little area. Ah, bastard. All right, I'm going to walk and talk. He's on my case. They're really nasty. They give you a nasty little nip, and you can't, it itches for ages afterwards. So, anyway, where are we? Oh, yeah, I got to the top of the mountain. And then, of course, as it got dark, the temperature plummeted, which is something that I hadn't accounted for, hadn't even thought about it, really. In my bag, I had a Mars bar, some candles. Don't ask me why. Probably for some prayer sigil or something I was going to do up there. But I think I had some incense. Oh, and I had... I'd been making little medicine bags out of offcuts of leather, which was a Native American Indian thing that my friend Joey, another story, the story of Joey, I'll put that one into this series, but my friend Joey had taught me and told me all about. So I'd been making these medicine bags, and I thought I'd take a whole bunch up to trade in case there was anyone up there for the night. Little handmade things that hang around your neck, they're quite nice. And give me a second. That's a bit of an effort. So anyway, I was up there on this mountain, and I had 4 of these little medicine bags that I took because of Joey's influence in my life. Being a Navajo Indian man on holiday when I met him out here in Australia from America, I'd had 4 of these little medicine bags that he taught me how to make, made out of chamois. And I decided in honour of him, I think it was in honour of him, but anyway, he taught me about the spirits of the 4 directions, and I had a lot of Native American influence as far as my spiritual understanding of things goes at that time. So I hung one. There's all these little shrubby bushes, no more than 2 or 3 feet high up there. I hung one in a bush in each direction, and I lit my candles, whatever, and I was trying to warm my hands on the candles. It was so cold, I was shivering. I think I put my jacket back on. I did try to shelter under it, under one of the platforms. It was a bit dangerous, and there was just long grass basically. So I'm sheltering there, and I remembered that I was up there for my spiritual good. I knew that I was there for some sort of higher reason. So I let it all out. I said a prayer for the spirit of the 4 directions to blow away the clouds and the rain and give me a good night up there. And I was talking to Jesus. I hadn't had a Jesus experience yet. I didn't even know if he existed or, anything like that. And so in my prayer, I wanted to know Jesus and wanted to know what that was all about with the Sermon on the Mount and everything. And then I think I ate my Mars bar, and I just unwrapped it. Oh, and one of the things Joey told me was about totem animals, which in a moment of need, an animal will come to you and help you and guide you and all this sort of thing. So I'm up there and I'm freezing, thinking I might not survive the night. Of course, no mobile phones in those days. And it was too dark for me to go back down the chain, which was now wet and slippery from the rain. So I started eating the Mars bar, trying to warm my hands, which was just freezing. They were shaking. I was shaking all over from the cold. And then all of a sudden, this very large black possum, what looked black to me by the candlelight, I didn't have a torch or anything, looked black, could have been just regular grey-brown colour, but looked black. Very large black possum came over to me from out of the bushes around there and just sat down right beside me. And so I broke my Mars bar in half, and I gave half to the possum. And the possum's sitting there with his little claws and holding it, and he's eating it, and I'm eating my half. And he finished it, and off he went. And I thought, well, that's that. That might be my totem animal. I remember having that thought, black possum might be my totem animal. So then I put the jacket over me. I took the jacket off. I put it over me like a blanket a bit and curled up in the grass there to go to sleep and try and ride it out. And I remember being bitterly cold and falling asleep. And I wasn't asleep for very long, and a giant wind started, like a whirlwind. It seemed to be coming from everywhere. And it blew away all the clouds. It blew away all the clouds, the rain stopped, and it was a perfectly starry night for the rest of the night. And I said my thanks to the spirits of the 4 directions. And I wasn't really stunned. I was just like, bugger me, like what the hell. But anyway, I went back to sleep. Someone else had told me in going up there that in the morning, because Mount Warning or Mount Wollumbin is the first place in the Queensland state the sun hits every morning, that people often go up there to watch the sunrise and see the first sun of the day. So at about 4 a.m, I think it was, I was awoken. I could hear people coming up the track below talking and laughing and making their way to the top, and I thought, I won't be a stooge, I'll go over to where the chain comes out, because there's only me up there, still alive, and the sun hadn't come up yet. I'll go over and I'll introduce myself. So I went over to the chain, and some guy came up over the lip of the rocks there, and as he stepped onto where I was, I said, hey, how you going? And I said, I'm just up here for the night. We had a moment, and he said, I said, I'm Dave, and he said, I'm North. And then the girl came up, and she said, I'm South. And then the next guy, I'm East, and the next one, I'm West. And there's 4 of them there. And one of them said, we're the spirits of the 4 directions. Anyway, I immediately told them what had happened last night, and I showed them the little medicine bags I'd hung in the bushes in each direction. And we all stood there in this very surreal moment, like not knowing what to say or anything. There wasn't really anything to say. And they said to me, look, we've come up here to meditate for the sun, and I remember with the sunrise, and I remember my friend Nanda Gopal from the Hare Krishna community. He told me that in India there are some devotees who sit there waiting for the sun to come up with their eyes open, and they can watch the whole sunrise come up, and apparently they have this belief that the first rays of the sun energize you in some sort of a way. Anyway, I didn't know about that, but they asked me if I'd like to join their meditation. I said, yeah, of course. And so we went on to the east-facing platform, and the 5 of us lined up. We sat down and lined up along the platform, pretty much took up all the space of it, and began to meditate. And I'd never really done a sitting down kind of, well, I had, but not in a what I would call a professional way, in that if there's such a thing. But these people they were like professional meditators, and I remember I opened my eyes to see if they were looking around or anything, and and I tried to get back into it. They were totally into it. They were in the zone straight away, and it took me quite some time to get in the zone, as it did in those days. And then I was disturbed. I heard voices. Somebody else had come up on the track. 4 other people had come up the chain, and all I could hear was this woman's voice with an American accent, really like me. And she said, oh, look, honey, there's people meditating. Take a photo. And I turned around to look at them, and there is these 4 tourists in their mountain climbing gear. They're decked out with everything, these big Nikon cameras and everything, taking photos of us. And then I noticed the other 4 guys hadn't disturbed at all that I was sitting with. They just completely ignored them. So I turned around and ignored them and tried to get back into meditating. And I think it was about half an hour. They wandered off. The Americans wandered off to somewhere, and then I lost them out of earshot, and they must have gone back down. But I just started, from memory, I think I just started to get into the zone and feel calm and still my mind and all of this sort of thing. And then I became aware of the warmth of the sun, the first rays of the sun on my face. And I remembered what Nanda had told me about people in India sitting and staring at the sun, the first rays. So I opened my eyes to look at the sun. And just as the sun broached the horizon, became full on the horizon, there was a flash out of the sun, like a solar flare. I don't know how to talk about it. I still don't know to this day that it wasn't just my eyes imagining things, but a man stepped out of the sun, it seemed to me. A man stepped out of the sun and held out his hand to me, and then all of a sudden, I heard this voice. Man, I can't talk about it to this day without getting choked up, but I heard this voice in my consciousness somehow. It was like the voice that I'd heard before, but when I was doing the circuit track, but this time it was definitely a man's voice. It was definitely very authoritative and very kind. And it said to me, go wherever you want, do whatever you want, but never let go of my hand. And that was my first meeting with Jesus. It's a powerful one. It's not the most I've had, but it's powerful. Anyway, after they'd finished meditating, we went back to their place down in the valley below and had cups of tea, and then I hitchhiked back to my house, which was an act of faith as well, since it was about 45 minutes away. Had to get lifts. Yep. All right, well, that's it. So, Jesus on Mount Warning. I'm pretty sure I got it all in. If I left anything out, I might do an addendum, but there was a lot going on in my life at that time. I'd made so many efforts to stop drinking and to stop taking drugs, and then of course I found gold top mushrooms growing in the paddocks around me, and that added another level to everything. Just all I can say is thank God those days are behind me, and thank God I've never let go of that hand. Peace.